Good afternoon, colleagues. We are opening our panel discussion, Track NTI ECONET and Ecosystems of Industrial Symbiosis in Russia, a step towards the circular economy. Allow me to introduce our colleagues who are with us today and the ones who will join us online within the framework of the panel discussion and the focus session. I am Nikolai Peterimov, and I will moderate the session, and I'm Deputy Chair of the Board of Directors of the International Consortium Saint-Petersburg Cluster of Clean Technologies for Urban Environment. With us, there will be Maxim Yevdokimov, Director of the Strategic Initiative Center. Yevdokia Lamagina is with us, an expert of the Timing Group, a representative of the Baltic Industrial Symbiosis Project. Daria Mironova is with us, Deputy Director for Project Work and Commercialization of the Department of Biotechnologies and Low Temperature Systems of ITMO University. Tatiana Loginova is with us, representing Komsomolskaya Pravda, Marina Lebedeva, Director General of Media Art and Russian part of the Russian project Circular Economy 4.0. And Tatiana Leonova is with us as well. She will make a presentation. Then let me mention Evgenia Koroleva, member of the Environmental Commission at the Governor's Office and representative of the Cosmos Russian-Finnish project Catapult. And so it will be also represented within the framework of the panel discussion. Svetoslav Kuzmenko, Director General, Deputy Chair of the Board of Directors of the International Consortium Russian Clean Technologies Cluster, and Gennady Pereboev, who works for this new market, for which we are suggesting our ecosystem of industrial symbiosis. And in order to shorten the time for the presentation, allow me to make a short presentation mentioning that everyone who is with us here, everyone who is joining us online, we're all a part of the ecosystem of industrial symbiosis of Russia through the creation of the centers of industrial symbiosis. This project of the St. Petersburg Cluster of Clean Technologies is being implemented together with the Center for Strategic Initiatives. And so each and every one of us will speak about the project, the organization, and the role they play in the process of the project implementation. At the end of the discussion, we'll give a representative of the ECONET working group who will provide his assessment of the project and the importance of it for the new developing market. So, creation of the ecosystem of industrial symbiosis in Russia through the development of industrial symbiosis centers. I said that this is being implemented together with the Agency for Strategic Initiatives. So, where does the idea come from? The idea emerged at the crowd platform started by the agency. It was called the Strong Ideas for the New Time, entitled. And so this idea became one of the 100 ideas which the Agency for Strategic Initiatives is planning to include into its updated strategy. And the top 8 of the green economy are the particular part of the particular group of the projects and programs that we're in. So an agreement was signed on the implementation of this project idea, joint implementation in the Russian Federation. Now, very briefly, about the market where this ecosystem is going to work. So it happens so that there is another idea as well. Another initiative that develops new markets for the Russian Federation. So the concept of the ECONET market is also being developed now. And we're quite sure that the existing in St. Petersburg and the Leningrad region and in the Pskov region, ecosystem of industrial symbiosis will rely on such segments of the market as green finances, clean technologies, and this market by 2035 will amount to $28 billion. And so it's a significant market. And so at this market, there must be an ecosystem introducing its business models, implementing them, and industrial symbiosis provides those for the implementation of the plans and the realization of the ambitions. And our presentation focused on that. And we'll first of all speak to the SMEs. In my presentation and in the presentations of my colleagues, we will see how SMEs today are involved in the creation of the system, how they develop it, and we will be able to learn more about the first results of this work. So what is the ecosystem of industrial symbiosis? Now, we borrowed the best ideas from the crowd IC platform. Well, on the basis, they are ideas suggested by the members of the cluster and the partners, and by the Center for Industrial Symbiosis, the Clean Biologies Cluster for the Green Ecology of Russia, the Green Economy of Russia, sorry. And on the map of clusters in Russia, the Cluster Observatory of the High School of Economics monitors that there are just about 3 clusters for which the main spheres of work are associated with the environmental protection, and 2 of them are in St. Petersburg. So both de jure and de facto, we are the capital of these green clusters, and we are willing to disseminate this experience in the regions of the Russian Federation. Then expert acceleration with the use of startups network, and these are very good projects and based on the Interreg project program. And there are annual competitions there for the green startups in the field of green technologies in different fields, smart house, smart mobility, sustainable consumption, and human consumption. And the winners of these competitions turned into clusters and were able to demonstrate that participation in the international works make it possible for the SMEs to get incorporated into different clusters at the level of the city and the Russian Federation. And the green finances is another very important issue. We mentioned that at the very beginning of the panel discussion. Remember, the first part of the panel session, actually. And when we discuss the results, we should also go back to the green finances. This idea was promoted by the members of the cluster and the representatives of the private pension funds of Norway and the representatives of the Russian Federation. This project is supported. It is also part of this ecosystem. And it's not just our view of the future, but it's all actually based on the real projects with green funding in St. Petersburg. And we have been able to achieve good results, and we hope that we are able to develop it further in the Russian Federation. Next is the Cluster for Sustainable Development. And it's a communication program that brings together the best practices of the Interreg regions of the Baltic Sea program and the cross-border cooperation programs. And here is one example I would like to give. These are expert projects with a lot of experts from the Russian Federation, from the European Union, and the overall funding is about 12 million euro. So this is a very strong expert potential, which is very important for the development of the ecosymbiosis, industrial ecosymbiosis in Russia. So good programs of PPP for cross-border cooperation and green business development, and our counterparts will speak about that. The idea of the project is as follows. Within its framework, apart from everything else, we assess the carbon footprint from economic activity in the urban environment and in the industrial sector. And that's very important. In their presentations, our colleagues will refer to practical examples and will describe how the carbon footprint affects the assessment of the ecologicity of the business. Effective Light, another project we should mention. I mentioned this project as a unique project, and about 40% of the houses here of the tenement houses have already carried out this work, and that's a whole city, in fact, and the energy consumption with all of that went down twice. So it's a unique project for the Russian Federation. So we hope that in the near future we're able to talk not about 40%, but even more than that, and maybe about 100% here in St. Petersburg. There's resource saving in this particular sector, a private project. There's the accumulators of energy for housing, and one of the winners is the accelerator startup. And they're not just selling their equipment in the Russian Federation, but they're also able to export their product. And another important project of the ITMO University, together with the Pskov administration, the Pskov hydropower plant. Briefly, I described the projects, and these are not all the projects integrated into the system, but the representatives of these projects are either here with us at the moment or will join us online and will be able to share their experience and their assessment of the ecosystems, the creation of the ecosystem, the challenges and forecasts for the ecosystem within the ECONET market. So when this market does exist and functions, what will that mean from the point of view of the support of the national initiatives? The market is there, of course, de jure and de facto, and in this case, it's just the matter of the conceptual description and the possibility to find new support measures, which are actually declared already within the Russian Federation. So we can see that our goals are quite ambitious. We can see that we are thinking of the centers of industrial symbiosis, industrial parks, and first of all, it's a possibility for the regions and competitive advantages for local business at the regional level. So within the framework of the project Industrial Symbiosis, the secondary resources are being found in the region itself. That means that the entities, the business entities, do have advantages for the processing of those, for the management of those. That's what makes our project so interesting for the regions of the Russian Federation. And what are the resources for this project? In St. Petersburg, we can see that in St. Petersburg, the members of the clusters earned over 20 billion rubles. And we have 58 members, 5 countries, and that is important. It's an international consortium, and among the participants there are Norwegian, Danish, Japanese, and Finnish companies, Russian companies, of course. There are 10 urban projects, and they declared a communicative platform. The cluster of sustainable development has a very significant expert potential and is funded by the Russian Federation and the European Union. Next, please. Well, thank you for your attention. And now allow me to give the floor to our colleague from Moscow, to Maxim Yevdokimov. Since this project is being implemented together with the Agency for Strategic Initiatives. Are you with us, Maxim?
I have a request. If possible, could you please follow the time frame? It is 5 to 7 minutes per speaker. And I have a question to you. What about the Agency of Strategic Initiatives? Why have you decided to support this project? Why did you decide to join it? And what is your role in promoting this project in the Russian Federation? And what is your forecast of NTI ECONET? Because I know that you are one of the co-founders of it. Thank you very much. On behalf of the Agency of Strategic Initiatives, I'm happy to welcome all the participants. This agency is a development institution, and we are looking for new models and best practices of development in the social sphere, economy, and environment. So it is important to introduce all this in the regions of Russia. We have over 300 participants. It is development institutions, international organizations, federal and regional governments. And for our agency, this topic of green economy is most relevant, and definitely in view of all these global challenges our country and the whole world is facing. 4 out of 9 planetary boundaries have been damaged already, and this is climate change, biodiversity loss, land use changes, and so on and so forth. And everybody is aware now that the major challenge for the coming decade is biodiversity loss and biocapital loss and ecosystems damaging. So it's absolutely sure that the linear model of resource use since the time of Industrial Revolution, when we extract resources, then we process them, then we produce something, and then we end using them. So it's obsolete. Now we need to move over to a circular economy. There are studies demonstrating that by 2040, the biosphere burden will exceed trillions of tons, and this will be more than the whole weight of all the biological species and the planet itself. So we need to do something with this waste. We need an efficient system of utilizing it. Lots of regions are facing this problem, and we see that the growth of the amount of waste and effective utilization systems, they are most relevant for big cities like Moscow and for the regions where the natural resources are the basis of their economic development. Both federal government and regional authorities, they take different efforts, and yesterday the President of Russia was stressing the focus on circular economy development and responsibility of manufacturers, responsibility for the environment. So a lot of attention is being given to it. And industrial symbiosis, it's one of the elements of this type of economy. This is an ecosystem that can be used by companies, and then the waste, excessive waste, can be used as a resource for other companies, and there are ecological effects. So there will be few waste dumped, and also it is profitable to optimize the utilization of these resources, and there will be new channels. New channels, and actually these resources, they are less expensive for manufacturers. Last year, our agency conducted a forum, Strong Ideas for this new time. And the response was very high. Lots of ideas, lots of thoughts reached us, and this demonstrates big interest and understanding of the importance of this topic. And one of the projects that was one of the top 100. It was industrial symbiosis ecosystems development, and St. Petersburg and Leningrad region colleagues who established this pilot cluster of industrial symbiosis and green technology. You are pilot leaders, you're pioneers, because there are few cases of establishing such ecosystems. And sometimes this is upon the initiative of corporations. But very often these words, industrial symbiosis, is not used. Companies are just looking for optimization of their waste at lower costs. So there's no single view on this, but we see that in many regions there are examples of such symbiosis. And if we speak about the role of our agency, ASI agency, there are four major aspects we have been dealing with. First of all, it is consolidation of the international experience in this topic and the practical experience of St. Petersburg and Leningrad region, your project, and then promotion of establishing and expanding the methodology for such symbiosis. It is important to accumulate all the steps for making this value chain links, and there should be step-by-step instructions and methodology for other regions. This is important for replicating it all over Russia, and the role of our agency is helping this process to develop. So we would like to also monitor the effect in different regions. The industrial symbiosis is not the final ultimate goal. No, we would like our regions to step on the circular economy pathway. We have begun developing some prototype of this methodology, and of course we are going to continue working together. And we see that lots of regions express their interest. And there is a Pskov region case where, on the side of some obsolete power plant, get together with ITMO University and some St. Petersburg clusters. Okay, the project is being developed. Then in Moscow, we were discussing the this topic, to do it in Moscow and Moscow region. It is being discussed now, and we believe that Moscow, together with the Moscow region, they are, equally important in comparison with St. Petersburg and Leningrad region, especially in terms of all the challenges related to a sustainable waste utilization. I believe I will stop at this point. If there are additional questions, then I will be happy to take part in the discussion. And I would like to thank once again for this initiative. These initiatives we see in your region, and all this is bringing us closer to the Sustainable Development Goals implementation. Thank you very much. Yes, you answered my question, and you demonstrated that there is already a high interest in Moscow and Moscow region. And then at the end of all the speeches, and after our colleague from NTI ECONET says something, then we can go back to discussion. And yes, we get lots of ideas from regions. And for you and for us, it is important, when this methodology is available, then we can begin implementation. But we should do it on the basis of what is available in the regions. So it shouldn't be top-down. the approach should be based on various teams, maybe business representatives or local governments representatives. And if we have these points of balance, then together with the expertise of the ASI and other projects, we can focus on this work. Now I would like to ask Evdokia Lamagina from Tireman Group. She's an expert, and I would like to ask her to speak about this Baltic industrial symbiosis. Thank you very much for organizing this most useful session. I am from Tireman Group, and we are implementing the project of Baltic industrial symbiosis. I would like to apologize because today we are having peer-to-peer learning session, and we are telling about our experience to international partners. So right after this speech, I have to go to another studio to take part in that online event. Speaking about our project, we represent the side of business and value chains development. And we are pioneers in this respect, and we follow the methodology developed under this project. We have identified a number of steps, and we are following them. First of all, we identify production companies. We screen the input and input resources and also waste or secondary materials that are produced during their production cycle. So it's not only material resources, it can be water, heat, electricity. So then we develop a database of all these resources, and we try to identify companies with similar interests. After that, we organize matchmaking events where companies with similar needs and interests may meet each other. And if there's some potential in it, then we do practical testing of various ideas of this industrial symbiosis or value chain establishment. We can use our production site or any other laboratory or enterprise. After successful results of this test, then this value chain is developed, and we discuss documentation and financial aspects and so on. In Russia, we have a living lab in the Leningrad region, and we accumulate all the resources. Not all companies provide enough waste, enough for testing. That is why we physically collect it, and then test it. Also, we popularize our activities, and we have organized an exhibition where we demonstrate all these types of resources and products that can be made, and also successful and maybe not so successful results of various tests. And using this chance, I would like to invite you all to our living lab for a tour. Please, anyone, come to us, and we will organize a tour for you. I believe that's it for now. So our contribution is that we are a pilot site, and at the end of this project, we see a number of value chains, and then we would like to scale up our experience. Thank you very much. And I would like to note that SMEs representatives, when they have this conscious decision to take part in this international project. Yeah, so they also invest their own funds, right? And so they are co-investors. So I believe this is the very first example of green financing. Yeah, so private companies, small and medium-sized enterprises taking part in this process. Our international colleagues sometimes say that we cannot boast of our results, and I would like to do it now. Really, this living lab, this is the very first lab in the CIS countries' environment, and it will be testing and it will be developing new models. And the event she has mentioned, so these are satellite events of this forum, and it is possible to see real companies and businesses that were born within this process. How long have you been doing it? For 1.5 years? Yes, there's a practical exchange process, and there are virtual tours on our partner enterprises, and they speak about initiatives that have been implemented already within this project. And we are going to discuss how this can be developed in the future. Yes, and what is important that this living lab, the owner of this industrial site, which is part of the industrial park number 10 in the Leningrad region, they are studying an opportunity for establishing an industrial park. So it's not just testing, not just having a lab, but to have residents and the territory of this industrial park. So then they will be exchanging, these companies, they might exchange secondary resources. Right, and now I would like to pass the floor to Daria Mironova, who is going to speak about a large project. And the ITMO University is the core of it, and it is the Pskov region with some active support on behalf of the Pskov government. It is important when at the very beginning the administration, the government understands that the whole area of this region should be developed in such a way. Thank you very much, Nikolai Vladimirovich, for this opportunity to share our experience of ITMO University and sustainable development of the Pskov region. It is close to Dedovichi village and the abandoned power plant site. I am from the School of Biotechnology and Cryogenic Systems University. First, I would like to speak about the very beginning of this project. There is a postgraduate student, Sergei Gastev. So he once visited the Pskov region, and he saw that the opportunities that could have been used in that region, so nothing is happening there, because at that time the power plant was planned for decommissioning, and he was an expert in energy sector, and he is for promoting the sustainable development. So he came to his tutor,
and so together with him as a team, we began to work on the project. The essence is in the following. It's sustainable development of the region through the creation of an industrial platform within the framework of a special economic zone, Moglina, the Moglina 3, where we plan to have a number of anchor projects, data processing centers, waste management center, agro-technologies, fisheries. And for this project to be developed, it was necessary to attract and involve the residents, the industries that were interested in the localization of the business in the region. And so our team was able to do that. We involved residents who were willing to consume about 80 megawatt of power. Since it is a special economic zone, and thanks to the Pskov hydropower plant functions, the key specific feature here is that there is a free heat produced by the power plant, and the energy, the power is very cheap. And of course, business is very much interested in this sort of advantages and benefits. And thanks to the consortium within which the university has a chance to help the human resource development of the region, the administration of the Pskov region displays a lot of deep interest. And we are planning to work on the principles of industrial symbiosis. And on the 13th of April, we met the governor of the Pskov region and the rector of ITMO, Dr. Vasilyev, signed with the governor of the Pskov region, Mr. Vedernikov, an agreement on cooperation within the framework of the larger project, sustainable development of the Pskov region. Our partners, the Agency for Strategic Initiatives, our key partners for further development of the project. And so we hope very much that in the near future it will be possible to start construction on the site. Now, since in this case we can address our colleagues from Russia, and we discussed with you that apart from St. Petersburg and the Leningrad region, there is a lot of interest displayed by Moscow and the Moscow region. And at the time when the methodology is ready, or when we work on the methodology, we sign a tripartite agreement between the entities, and Pskov, ITMO, and St. Petersburg, we will be involved all together. In all the other regions, we will be happy to exchange experience and to find a cluster partner which is willing to work with us and which is more interesting for the region from the point of view of the project implementation and the experience gained. Thank you very much, and allow me to give the floor now to our next active member and representative of the polymer cluster in St. Petersburg. St. Petersburg, by the number of clusters, is a leader in the Russian Federation. And it's not a self-goal for us to create the clusters. Indeed, today in St. Petersburg, there are professional cluster communities which do quite a lot for the city economy. And the pandemic has proven that. At the time of the pandemic, many of the clusters were able to start working in the area which was interesting for the city at that particular period of time. And so I would like to invite Tatiana Loginova, representing the Komsomolskaya Pravda facility. And the same question will be addressed to you. What makes it necessary for us to pool our efforts together? And for you personally, what is your interest in that? And what is your forecast for the further development of cooperation in Russia, for the Symbiosis and for the ECONET market, which is being described within the concept of the market? Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers of the event, the partners, foreign partners, the Agency for Strategic Initiatives. I would like to thank everyone, and of course the St. Petersburg cluster for clean technologies, and my personal thanks to you, Mr. Petrimov, because you have been working in this area persistently and consistently, promoting the idea. Last year it was highly appreciated at the Forum of Strategic Initiatives, and even prior to that it had been strong enough, and it's going to be quite a strong idea in the future. Industrial symbiosis is a continuation of the symbiosis of efforts that you personally have contributed.
Партнеров, иностранных компаний, партнеров кластера.
And the Agency for Strategic Initiative and foreign partners are, of course, a very significant part of this overall project. Now, it's a pilot project, of course, and we're ready to disseminate it within our own region, and we're willing to go beyond its boundaries and work all over Russia. And we can suggest at present our own practices, our own methods and models, which seem to be most effective for the successful implementation of the project. Now, I'm going to disprove the stereotypes and brawl, but that's why we're here. We really are here to learn about the most effective instruments for the launching of the industrial symbiosis in Russia in full scale. I represent a company that was founded over 100 years ago. It is located, it is within oil and gas industry. But at the same time, if not a flagship, because it's a mid-sized business, but it's still a pioneer in the field of innovations within the framework of green technologies and recycling of waste. And I'm not going to speak at the moment about the products and projects that are being implemented by us. There is quite a lot of those, and we have over 40 patents for different types of products of second-hand plastic. And these can be projects interesting for the Russian railroads, for the Arctic projects, and for the consumer market. So when we speak about the basics of our work of the company, Komsomolskaya Pravda is the basis of the polymer plus cluster, as it has been said. Then we're saying that green technologies are in the basis of that. Another important principle for us is education and training. Without popularization of what we're doing, without the possibility to transfer successful cases into an educational program for further training of professionals for this very important sector, it's difficult to speak about successful scaling of the idea. So we have a qualification center, or rather qualifications assessment center founded together with Rosnano. Rosnano was able to see with us that particular grain that will grow in order to respond to the challenges of the present day. The challenges have already been discussed at the plenary session, and of course we're talking about the waste management here, the environmental problems within the SECO agenda, and reduction of the burden on the environment within the segment of primary resources and more extensive use of secondary resources. We continue this work. There are more and more instruments nowadays that appear in St. Petersburg. St. Petersburg is interesting in this context. It's quite competitive, but for the ECONET, it's quite favorable, because here you will find all the major scientific and research centers, schools of higher learning, universities, ideas that create the necessary prerequisites for further development of technologies, for the new technologies, processing technologies, and for their multiplication, for the human resource development in this sphere, and for further application of the results of this work in other regions. So St. Petersburg clusters are the first step towards that. And the second step are the models of the industrial symbiosis, well-considered models, and our colleagues are part of those. We can be a part of the industrial symbiosis for any major company, any construction company, because we process secondary resources, and from the companies we get their plastic waste. This can be packaging materials. This can be waste of production process. If their technologies are like that, and if they work with plastic, and if their work is harmless for the environment, if the green technologies are used there. So we support techno entrepreneurs and young innovators and young startups based on research work can join us. They are the ones that look for new markets. They invent new ideas, how to use the secondary materials. What can we make of that? The market used to be based on enthusiasm. Well, of course, we listened to the statement of the president yesterday, and we were happy because what he said was an important stimulus for us. And of course, we will keep developing the markets, and I'm quite sure that the techno-industrialists and techno-entrepreneurs who create these sources for the ECONET market development in Russia get more enthusiasm and material resources as well. Our participation in this work has been covered. As for my personal attitude, I'm a great enthusiast of this work together with you. So we'll go towards our future hand in hand and hope it's bright and effective. Thank you very much. Yes, I would like to agree with you, of course, because you, as well as we are, you are public experts. And, well, for us, this is an additional burden, and at the same time it does help us. It helps us professionally and helps our personal development, and the community of ecosystems brings together not only companies, but it brings together people, who are of the same way of thinking. Allow me to give the floor to Marina Lebedeva, Director of the Media Art, the Russian part of eco-design and circular economy 4.0. Eco-design and industrial symbiosis. Is that one and the same story? Or are these very different things? But is that the story of the same type of economy? Now, first of all, thank you very much for this chance to speak here. That means time has come to join our efforts. It happens so that over the past month, we have been able to take important steps towards that. We have one single goal. We want to live in the clean future so that our children and grandchildren could live in the clean and clear world. As well as all the others, I'm happy. I was happy to hear the words of the president yesterday. That means that all the efforts of ours were not wasted over the past years. And it's important to remember that people get together. They unite. That is important. Our company is Medinart, and we are social entrepreneurs. We are a small business, and we are among those who invest in these projects. We are part of the Interreg project for the region of the Baltic Sea. Its logo is here. And within this project, we invest into a promotion of the circular economy topic. There are 6 countries in the project, and we were the last to join. It's the second part of the project, Eco-Design and Circular Economy 4.0. Within the past 18 months of the pandemic, we were able to do much more than our partners from other countries. That means we are properly focused. That is exactly the case when the Russians begin slowly, but then run or ride fast. The technology that we obtained due to our cooperation with the European partners, and we adapted, of course, it to the Russian market. So we can say that in order to achieve the sustainable development goals, in order to introduce the principles of circular economy into life, we must have instruments, we must have tools. Industrial symbiosis is a system, but for industrial symbiosis to work, we need to have tools, and the eco-design, or as they say, circular design, is the instrument that brings the companies together. These are principles, these are technologies, the methodology which makes it possible to move from one company to another, creating bridges between them. The matter is that at the level of an idea, we start thinking about the life cycle for a product, for an idea. We're trying to see what we get in the end. What can be disintegrated, what can be processed, makes up a different part when we design the product. And so this is a very significant approach and very important principle we follow. And we support this idea for one company to be able to make use of the, well, let's put it in different, to make use of the waste of another company. There needs to be someone who pulls all of this together. And so here is this phrase. Our problems are associated not with waste, but with the design. 80% of waste is the result of the poor design or design work in general, design in a wide sense of the word. So the technology that we are using, the technology that brings us practical results, and we know about those because we have been working for 18 months on this project, is to learn people how to think in a different way, how to design in a different way, obtaining the economic effect from what they're doing right away. Circular economy is a form of economy. So for companies, it must be beneficial. It's not charity work. It's not just taking care of the environment, but that's an economy. The economy that makes the environment better or protects it. So, what are the instruments and technologies we suggest? Now, first of all, we need to have a team. Even the wisest leader cannot carry out all the work, so we built a team. It's the Eco-Design Learning Factory, as we call it, a special project-oriented technology that helps to teach a team how to think and how to design in a different way.
это работа с конкретными предприятиями. Это
the work
очень
with
близко к тому,
specific
что коллеги
companies,
говорили.
and
Это
this is very
называется
close to what
эко-дизайн-аудит.
has been
Но, может
described
быть,
already. It
немножко
is
шире,
eco-design
потому что мы не только про
auditing,
промышленный
but we are
симбиоз,
looking
а мы
wider at
вообще
it,
про
because
то,
we are
как
speaking not only about the
оптимизировать
industrial
бизнес-процессы и
symbiosis, but how to
производственные
optimize
процессы
overall
технологически,
business and
подвигая их к
technological
лучшему решению
processes,
в области
moving
циклической
towards
экономики. Это не значит,
better
что они все сразу
solutions of
начнут
circular
делать,
economy. It
но
doesn't mean that they will be doing
определяя
it
сильные
straight
стороны
away, but
предприятий
we
и
are
слабые, мы
identifying
можем таким образом
stronger and weaker
транслировать
aspects
мысли
of
по
each
поводу того, что
enterprise,
они
so
могут.
we
Очень
can
важно для
demonstrate
того,
what they
чтобы
can
было
do.
вдохновение у
And for this
предприятия,
inspiration,
давать им
we
направление
need
быстрой победы,
to
чтобы
direct these
те люди, которые
companies
вы
to
вовлечены,
achieve
они
quick
понимают, что они быстро могут
results
научиться
and
чему-то
win
следующему.
fast victories. Then a lot can
Следующий
be
шаг — это экодизайн
done
спринт.
through this.
Опять же,
Then,
команда.
eco-design
Мы,
sprint.
значит,
It's our
разработали
next
такую
step.
схему,
What is that?
которая
It is a scheme that hasn't been introduced in Europe. So we identified a team of top managers, and it was the first furniture factory. So we had a 2-day training, and at the end of it, there were prototypes of business ideas for what can be changed in order to get some products, not services, but products, but the same can be done for services as well. Products that can give effects close to circular economy. And step 4, eco-design patronage. This is tutoring, working together with a company so that they can come to us seeking advice and so on.
Ну и еще есть параллельная история.
And there is a parallel story. It is training for trainers, because we do not have business consultants and design consultants who know this technology. We have trained the first team, and they have received certificates of professional training. So we taught them how to do it. So we transferred this technology, because our task is not to do it all ourselves, but we need to teach people. So if you look at the logic, so we teach these development teams how to introduce all this in their companies. And the results were extremely well. There were people from different sectors. There were representatives of industrial companies, and there were designers and business consultants and business trainers and university professors. Everybody stressed that it is so important, and it's so revealing and eye-opening. And the key word they used, so it was all, conscious. Okay, their mentality has changed. And education, design, and introduction. In May, we are going to provide another training, and I'm very happy to say that we are all together. And through uniting efforts, we can improve the world. We can make this world better. And I believe what we can do, what has been adapted within our project, can be and should be expanded. And yesterday I was speaking about it at the annual meeting of the Association of Furniture Makers of Russia, and we heard from officials and government representatives that they are very much interested in this. So we are speaking about specific, very practical tools, and they can bring excellent results. Thank you very much. Right, so drawing some intermediary conclusions, we can say that this symbiosis system, okay, it has been implemented within your project. And you and we are very much interested in scaling this up. So we see there are more members in this team. And now I would like to pass the floor to Tatiana Malivanne, who represents the St. Petersburg Foundation for SMEs Development. Dear colleagues, thank you very much for this opportunity to speak in front of this audience. First, I would like to emphasize that green technology is, on the one hand, is a way of life, and on the other hand, this is a business that makes this way of life real. And today we heard so much about green technologies that they are now becoming part of our lives, and we can find them in practically all spheres and sectors. And in St. Petersburg, there's an excellent company, and actually companies, who represent green technology. Next slide, please. In St. Petersburg, in the sphere of transport, there's a number of companies who are leaders of the market. So this is a hub in the Polytechnic University. They already demonstrated the first locally made electric vehicle, and the transport sector, of course, its development is impossible without establishing infrastructure, because we need electric chargers and the whole network of this. And in St. Petersburg, there are companies like Touch, so they are a member of the Cleantech cluster. They design and produce electric chargers for vehicles. Then there's Energo Group auditors, so they are leaders of this in servicing and designing, developing and servicing this infrastructure. And they work not only in St. Petersburg, not only in the northwest of Russia, but also all over Russia. Next slide, please. Among other based cases, we speak about waste recycling and waste processing, and there's Arska Technologies. This is an engineering company. They develop chemical technologies, oil and gas, and they do fundamental research and engineer technologies for utilization and processing of waste. Another interesting case, Smart Shredder. So they, if I'm not mistaken, they are a resident of the Living Lab. So they produce environmentally friendly furniture from processed plastic. And this is a reflection, a demonstration of circularity we are all striving for. Then Lodz Battery Company, they produce batteries for domestic use. And this company, after winning the national contest, they became a member, resident of the Cleantech cluster, and they contribute to development of the green technology. And this product has already 30 rep offices all over the world. This is a very good result for a startup from the northern capital of Russia. And food tech. This is one of the dirtiest industries, and there's a number of solutions. For example, this one, Niam Cup. So this company produces edible coffee cups. And Russian and international experts noticed them. Now they are trying to enter international market, for example, Finland. There's also other companies. They produce paper cups without plastic. This is Formatia company. They have their production line here in St. Petersburg. And also there are different apps. So one of them is Eat Me, or when users can find food in restaurants or cafes, they are saving this food from being thrown away. So this reduces waste of the food industry. So this has been a very brief overview of best cases in St. Petersburg. They all are part of the catalog called Startup Connect, and these companies, they are ready to scale their experience up not only in Russia but at international markets as well. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much. And now I would like to pass the floor to Evgenia Koroleva, who is member of the Environmental Council under the governor of St. Petersburg, and she's General Director of the Environmental Bureau Cosmos, and she is member of the cluster. And I believe you will be giving us other examples from the Catapult project and so on. Thank you very much for inviting me to take part in this session. And following the traditions in telling you about our participation in this cross-border cooperation project, I can say that there's a number of areas. First of all, it is energy saving, then it is circular economy, and the third is green mobility. So, and all these three aspects have been described by the previous speakers. Within each of these directions, an expert task force is functioning, both of with Russian and Finnish experts. They regularly have their meetings and they exchange ideas what is happening in our countries. Together with our colleagues, we have calculated the carbon footprint from residential buildings in St. Petersburg. It is 137 series buildings, and we analyzed what changes after energy-saving instruments are introduced. And the results were 25% reduction of carbon emissions and 25% savings of heating and 30% of electricity saving. And then we tried to compare it with some newer buildings that were built 5 years ago, and the carbon footprint was similar to 137 series buildings after all energy saving systems were installed. And as for some old type buildings, the situation is not so optimistic. So definitely there's a lot to be improved, and this transition to the circular economy and the climate doctrine targets and emissions restrictions, all this will bring us there. And industrial enterprises now, they are aware that they should provide reporting on carbon dioxide emissions. And all these requirements will be expanding and growing. As for circular economy and this cross-border cooperation, in December there was an international webinar with representatives of both expert and Finnish and Russian expert organizations, and specific recommendations for waste processing were discussed both in St. Petersburg and Helsinki and Lappeenranta. We prepared a publication on circular economy with description of specific solutions, and on our website, EcoProfi, so everything is available. There are green solutions for life, for example, and everyone can see what other ways to reduce our carbon footprint. And what else is important? Within our project, we gave a lot of attention to waste, not only from the housing stock, but in broader terms. We are preparing a new publication. It will be out in May. It is how waste processing at the level of one industrial enterprise functions both in Russia and Finland. This is like a course book. We prepared it together with the ITMA University, and it may form the basis, it may become a platform for this work. So we would like to, if you would like to get it, there will be an announcement on our website, and on the 25th of May there will be a big webinar devoted to this, and experts from Russia and Finland will take part in it, and the welcome words will be given by the leaders of the cross-border cooperation project and also representatives of federal and regional governments. Why is it important? The environmental law has been changing a lot in the sphere of waste processing. So this publication includes all the changes, all the recent changes. And you probably know that now there will be a single regional operator, so both in St. Petersburg and Leningrad region, and there will be a regional scheme of waste collection and handling for these two entities, and also a different committee will be in charge of this. So it will be a committee on natural resources. So of course these changes will mean that there will be lots of questions, and on the 25th of May there will be representatives of this new committee which is put in charge of this, and it will be a dialogue, and we are going to provide this information to everyone who is interested.
As I understand, this could be interesting if we go back to the industrial symbiosis and the relations with IC and the new ECONET market. So this can be disseminated into the regions and the regional innovations, and we should mention the international component. The experience of Finland, the experience of the expert groups is very important, can be integrated at the moment when the international experience is being accumulated for different regions. In West, we're of course closer to the Nordic countries, but in some other parts of the Russian Federation, they might be more interested in the experience of Japan or other states. So, the fact that SIP, apart from the methodology, is assuming the function of the accumulation of the international experience for different regions, so that the regions are able to find partners abroad. That's useful. And that's important. And now, since we are a bit slow, and allow me to give the floor to Vladimir Bereboev, Secretary and Coordinator of the ECONET Working Group, because our panel discussion is orientated not only to the relations with Russia as an ecosystem, but we are offering a project that could be an element of the new ECONET market. I'm a member of this working group of the ECONET market, and the Industrial Symbiosis project is a key project, but it's better if this is described by the members of the working group, and within it there are experts from ASEA, from different parts of the Russian Federation. So Vladimir, if you are with us, could you present your viewpoint on the proposals put forward today during the panel discussion? Are we connected to Moscow? Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Nikolai Vladimirovich, thank you for the invitation, for the floor given to me. It's a great honor to me to take part in your event. I hope you can hear me well enough. The problems with communication do exist, unfortunately. Well, anyway, I wanted to say once again that it was a great pleasure for me to work with you, Nikolai Vladimirovich, and with other representatives and with other participants of the event within the framework of Foresight MT 2.0, and we developed the ECONET market concept within it. So it's the market that is based on the symbiosis between humans and nature, and focused on the creation of the circular economy in Russia, and on the further promotion of Russian companies, Russian technologies towards the external markets. So for us, the segmentation of the market was important. So it was important for us to find the specific sectors, niches within Russian companies could take a proper position at the global markets. And within the framework of which the Russian companies could either dictate conditions for the development of the segment, being leaders, or where they could build into the teams taking part in this work in the world on the whole. So since from the very beginning, within the working group, I promoted the idea of international cooperation. I would like to speak within the allocated 5 to 7 minutes, focus on the prospects of the international development within ECONET and within the global market of clean technologies. Some say that this market has been built. Others say that it is in the process of being built. But I would say that these technologies are just being created because there are different assessments of what has been done and what needs to be done at these global markets. The numbers are very different, indeed. And the assessments are very different, and the opinions are different. Allow me to focus on the Eurasian economic community. Russia is a member of it. And here, the main aspect of work that could help us with the ECONET strategy and help us with the initiatives focused on the creation of the industrial symbiosis. I would like to speak about the major areas of cooperation within the framework of the Eurasian community, and I will speak about this document regulating the principles of industrial cooperation between the members of the Eurasian Economic Union. Many say that it's not that promising. What's the point of delivering certain products to the countries of the Union? Now, the economic effect is not that high. It is similar to the promotion of different technologies and products towards the regions of the Russian Federation. But this Eurasian Union is a well-recognized international organization that at present works on its own development agenda, global agenda. And today, the European Union and the Eurasian Economic Union are two major unions, well recognized. So our union is not a market that is devoid of prospect, but it's a territory for co-development. So for industrial symbiosis, for the centers of industrial symbiosis, it's most interesting and most promising. It's interesting to build the strategy of scaling at the markets of other countries, members of the Eurasian Economic Union, particularly since this is provided and supported by the historic document adopted by the Eurasian Economic Council by the presidents of the member states in December 2020. This document is entitled Strategic Areas for the Development of the Eurasian Economic Integration up to 2025. And for the first time, within the framework of this document, the focus was made on green economy. I think it's a historic event because in the past, officially, within the framework of the Eurasian Economic Union, this agenda in the sphere of green economy has not been properly formulated. But for the first time, within the framework of this document, the focus is made on the cooperation between the member states in the context of green economy. And so for the first time, economic cooperation is planned in this field and on environmental protection within the framework of the Eurasian Economic Union. And as I see it, it's an outstanding prerequisite for the ECONET market development, for the Saint-Petersburg cluster of clean technologies, and for other organizations and companies that work in the area of industrial symbiosis and solutions associated with clean technologies. And I would like to specify that this document, this strategic document, actually is a strategy for the Eurasian Economic Union development up to 2025, and it speaks about the dissemination of smart environmental technologies, a step-by-step ban on disposable plastic bags, exchange of advanced experience and methods of practical work, sustainable development and development of the programs for green economy, interaction between the member states in the field of energy saving, energy efficiency, and renewable sources of energy for environmental protection. So all these areas are most important indeed. And it seems to me that within the framework of ECONET, these possibilities must be turned into priority areas of work. And at the moment, it's important to complete the work on the market concept. It's necessary to provide certain defenses for it. It's necessary to develop the ECONET roadmap. We hope that in the near future this work is done, and we'll move towards the implementation on the territory of the Eurasian Economic Union. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think this proposal addressed to the cluster is very important. We really should not limit ourselves to the Russian Federation. We should go wider. We should move towards the Eurasian Economic Union. And if this idea is supported by the working group of NTI, and so the project, our project is a key project for the Russian Federation. But if we are supported in the Eurasian Economic Unity, and if the Agency for Strategic Initiative supports us in that field, then I think this is going to be a mutually beneficial idea. And so we will work on it. We will try to assess properly our capabilities and our capacities. I'm quite sure that we can do it. Now, we just need to get the response from the agency and from the working group of ECONET. Now, with limited time, allow me to go back to our participants from St. Petersburg. And I wonder if Pavel Sharachin is with us. Sharachin, it's one of the companies of our group. And are you with us at the start of the panel discussion? We spoke about the Baltic industrial symbiosis, and Pavel, within that particular program, works on the educational program. And during the panel discussion and the plenary discussion, we said that we create new jobs. And if we talk about industrial symbiosis, we need managers for industrial symbiosis. You have 5 minutes. So it's going to be the announcement of the program rather than the story of the program itself. So, okay. Thank you very much. I would like to thank the organizers of the event. I'm happy to be with you. I'm Pavel Sharachin. I'm Director for Investment Policy of the Non-Commercial Partnership, the Household Owners Association. And so allow me to mention 2 aspects before I talk about the training program. So from the point of view of methodology, as it has been said, it's important to understand what's happening in the field of industrial symbiosis. And still, there is no consensus, operational consensus, on how we can measure the negative impact on the environment and how important it is for the current work of the companies. At the moment, the work on environmental protection and green technologies run separately. Of course, there are tools to measure all of that for CO2 emissions and so on and so forth. But on the other hand, the companies plan their own work and their own activities using old methods, and the indicators of their profits are there, of course, and still live their own life, so to speak. And why methodology is so important? We are short of the necessary knowledge and skills. We do not know how to organize this sort of interaction, even if there are prerequisites for that. And the project that we carry out, the Baltic Industrial Symbiosis, suggests some solutions, which we hope in the next weeks are going to work for the Russian parties. along with the measures that are taken, the Linköping University, one of the participants of our project, the Baltic Industrial Symbiosis, has developed its own program of operational trainings for practitioners, for specialists at the companies, at the enterprises who are responsible for the contacts between each other on industrial symbiosis. And these trainings by the Linköping University have been organized for the Danish and Finnish partners. And over the next few weeks, we expect to have a training like that arranged for the Russian partners. Now, the details were presented a bit later, but it's going to be a training for practical people so that they accumulate the necessary knowledge and skills on developing contacts between the partners. The intrigue is there, so that's good. There should be always a wish to continue the discussion, to keep discussion on. So we introduced the projects of the industrial symbiosis, but we relying, of course, on the experience of one of the world leaders in this field, the Danish Center of Industrial Symbiosis. And at a major international event, some counterparts of ours spoke and said that for any symbiosis, the most important thing is trust. It's credibility and time. And here, I would like to give the floor to the executive director of the cluster, Svetoslav Kuzmenko, who is so we understand very well that without trust, without the building of long-term and clear-cut relations with local administrations at the level of federal authorities, regional authorities, municipal authorities, industrial symbiosis is not going to develop properly. It's going to be lame. But if this dialogue is built, if we can see that this impetus is there at the federal level, we can see it. It's easy to understand, and it's very clear-cut. And so that's important, of course. And at the same time, we can see that at the level of the regions, if we take Saint-Petersburg and the Leningrad region, the regional administrations can also be quite clear about their policy displaying and supporting, promoting the interests of the residents of the region. So every time administrative decisions are made, the environmental commission opinion should be considered, and because we must envisage the reaction of the public to the different new ideas concerning waste and waste recycling and other things. So allow me to give the floor to Svetoslav. It's a difficult kind of work. Trust and confidence in the work with administration. It's hard work, and we mentioned this earlier. There must be politically coordinated decisions, but the social impetus very much depends on the society and on business. So the floor is yours, and what's your attitude to the development of relations with the sea and ECONET?
Thank you very much, Nikolai Vladimirovich. First, I'd like to touch upon industrial symbiosis, what we have seen already, the example of this pilot project. And I believe that our territories, municipalities, and regions of the Russian Federation, they might be interested in this, because this is something local. Okay, and from big centers, you can hardly, establish a a link. Mainly, this will be something local. And if we are going to develop municipalities and some regions of the Russian Federation, and among municipalities, there are very big, like big cities, and smaller ones. So this should be something relevant to the local administrations and municipal organizations. And local businesses should understand how to approach all this and where they can make money on this and also increase tax revenues. In the discussion that we have had already here today and at various previous events, and the Committee on Natural Resources was organizing many different conferences and webinars. So the impetus was given not only by the businesses, but by local governments as well. So when a pilot project is formed and when it is necessary to have some market study, especially for some primary activities, this will require budget funds to finance this market study and to coordinate activities among participants of this process. This is number one. The second thing is that the biggest clients, those who initiate this, they are public bodies. So they purchase something directly or via certain structures. It is necessary to improve the regulatory basis for this, and I'm addressing now colleagues at the federal level, because while I was listening, so I was collecting all these thoughts and ideas. So the public procurement system should include green procurement, and the industrial symbiosis will be an element of all this. And public procurement should provide priority to those organizations who innovate and implement interesting modern ideas. And because of this, everybody will win, both business and as the civil society, and each one of us. I would like to think about the following. Because of quite active interaction between St. Petersburg and Leningrad region, we can discuss this, and then maybe we can contact relevant authorities so we can establish an interregional council on sustainable development, and then this body can be a coordinator of this work, and all these ideas we heard about today can be promoted. Because if we do not transform the whole public procurement and public government systems, we will be moving forward very, very slowly. We cannot afford it. We should do it very quickly. Have a look at the European Union. So they are so active, and they're quick. They respond very quickly, both in terms of financing and changing the regulation. The North America, so they have been very active as well. So we should be in line with the world trends, and we can be leaders as well. If we speak about the Eurasian community. So we should be able to demonstrate to our partners our results, and we can say that, okay, this can be replicated, this can be scaled up, and then it will be possible to transfer your knowledge and experience, and you can transfer the available technologies. And I would like to finish with reference to what the World Bank representative said. It was an excellent presentation, and he said that when they saw how Croatia was working, now the World Bank asks Croatia, what can we help you with? So this is the key thing. So as soon as you move forward, when you demonstrate results, then financing is provided. Because without this, without efficient financing, not much is possible. And financing should be both private and institutional, from international financial institutions and national financial institutions. And, as I said previously, the whole public procurement system should be revised, and then we will see a breakthrough, and very fast development of this business and of these sectors, and we might become one of the leaders in Eurasia. Thank you very much. We are finishing this session, and I would like to ask both Vladimir Pereboev and Maxim. So I hope you heard about these proposals and what we were discussing during the first panel. Yeah, that the ASI agency, okay, they are establishing some council on green economy. But I was speaking about sustainable development, right? But these organizations, yeah, they have been supporting this, yeah, and it is important for development of the whole region. And if this is supported by the Agency for Strategic Initiatives, yeah, it is very important. I would like to ask our colleagues from Moscow, is there something you would like to add or comment on? Or we can finish this session. All right, there's a very nice movie, Formula of Love, yes, and they say, okay, our daddy agrees. Okay, sorry. I wanted to. I took a pause because I thought that the Agency of Strategic Initiatives would say something. On my behalf, I would like to thank you for inviting us to take part in this session, and a future strategy of green economy development within the Eurasian environment. And this has been emphasized many times. So recently, in February, for example, February of 2021, the Chair, Michael Mishustin, head of the government of Russia, stressed that within the Eurasian Union, there's a priority of smart and energy-saving technology, and this will stimulate scientific breakthroughs, yeah, and it will establish the territory of innovations within the Eurasian Union. Yes, Russia is interested in innovative development. This is a very important task for foreign policy of Russia, and here we see huge opportunities for all of our organizations and initiatives and centers of industrial symbiosis. And this is a very good window of opportunity for scaling this work within the Eurasian Union. And the Cleantech cluster representative was absolutely right that international financial organizations can take part in this. So it's not a secret. that about half of the global green financing in emerging economies is provided by international financial organizations. And you all are very well aware what organizations function within the Eurasian Economic Union space. And I myself, as a representative of the ECONET working group, I am ready to continue this work, to put together necessary initiatives and to invite necessary experts and officials. And this task force, ECONET task force, it should be brought up to the international level. So enormous work is awaiting, and I believe we all should use these opportunities to the maximum effect. Thank you very much. Then we are finishing this session. Oh, yes, if there are additional comments, go ahead. Yes, in conclusion, I would like to thank everyone. Yeah, very important thoughts have been announced today. Our steady development towards green economy is possible only through partnerships. Yeah, we see that. Businesses and what is demonstrated in Leningrad and Saint-Petersburg, there are initiatives which are tangible, and they are becoming best practices that can be used for future development. And there's a very important aspect in implementation of green projects. It is important to quantify the results. We see lots of initiatives, but they remain the goal in itself, and people are not very much aware how this impacts the environment. So we need quantifiable data, and then we won't have useless projects or projects without any specific results. So let's work towards this. Thank you very much. Thank you once again. We would like to thank all the participants and the speakers. Thank you for all your opinions. And I would like to underline that how many things we have managed to discuss and agree on. Thank you very much.